Hello and welcome to the comprehensive news analysis of the Indian Express dated 11th June 2020. Let's look at the first article. It says, Rap to India on religious freedom, visas denied to teams advising US Congress. So, we are all familiar with the visa policy of India, and I want to note it down that this article is relevant for general studies paper 2 international relations or visa policy. So let's have a look and just revise our visa policy of India. What do we know? We know that visitors to India must obtain a visa from an Indian diplomatic mission unless they come from one of the visa exempt countries where visas are not required, or a country whose citizens may obtain a visa on arrival or an e-visa online. They can register, they can get that online also. So what are the provisions for visa? First, we must discuss about the freedom of movement. Citizens of the countries China, Hong Kong, Macau, Maldives, and Pakistan may remain in the country without any limit of stay. There is no limit there put, for example, visa limit. Also, Bhutan and Nepal, citizens of these countries may also live and work freely in India. So, Bhutan and Nepal are visa exempt countries. Coming to visa policy map, so what it goes like that. When we say visa policy map, so it is very significant to have a look the areas Republic of India which is covered, and a discussion about Indo-Nepal Treaty of Peace and Friendship also. Coming to overseas citizens of India, persons of Indian origin, what are the provisions for that? Foreign citizens possessing an overseas citizen of India registration certificate or holders of a persons of India origin card are exempt from visa requirements, and they have the right to domicile in India and are allowed unlimited entries into India. And what happened in this article? What we say, visas are denied to teams advising US Congress. The government denied visas of teams of a non-governmental advisory body to the US Congress after its denouncement of the state of religious freedom in India. We all know the Minister of External Affairs, Mr. S. Jaishankar, said this in a letter to a member of Parliament, Nishikant Dubey. Okay, so what are the provisions for visa on arrival? Citizens of countries can apply for a visa on arrival. So where they are valid, in which cities of India? It is valid in National Capital Territory, that is New Delhi, Mumbai, Kolkata, Chennai, Bengaluru, and Hyderabad. The visa is issued on conditions for business reasons, tourist, medical, and conference categories, and has a validity of 60 days. The cost is rupees 2000 INR. This facility is not available to citizens if they or either of their parents or grandparents was born permanent in Pakistan, or they are a permanent resident of Pakistan. So this was all about discussion about visa policy of India. So why visas are denied to teams advising US Congress. Next article, it talks about, very importantly, the positive consensus. What we are looking from the past 2 weeks about India-China border dispute. Very important to discuss from general studies paper to international relations, China border dispute point of view, and it highlights the 2020 India-China border dispute skirmishes. Very important. What happened that all the troops have been withdrawn, and what is the update? Let's have a look. China has confirmed that both the troops are taking steps to ease line of actual control situation. We must know about the India-China border dispute. So, the 2020 India-China skirmishes represent an ongoing military standoff which started from 5th May 2020. Past 1 month it is going on. Chinese and Indian troops were reported to have engaged in non-lethal aggressive action. Face-offs were there, standoffs were there, skirmishes were there at multiple locations along the Sino-Indian border. Also, the Pangong Tso Lake in Ladakh was the incident took place there, and Nathula Pass in Sikkim also the incident took place there. In addition, face-offs are ongoing at multiple locations in eastern Ladakh along the line of actual control (LAC) that has persisted from the 1962 Sino-Indian War. Most recent of them is at the Galwan River Valley, where the Chinese forces objected to Indian road construction within Indian territory. So, in the backdrop of 2020 India-China skirmishes, I want to discuss the map of DSDBO, which stands for Darbuk Shok, Daulat Beguldi, DB, DSDBO, Daulat Begul Due, okay, Daulat Begul Bay, DSDBO, where is significant. The map is clearly visible here. Daulat Beg Oldie, DBO, it's visible here, and in the next photograph you can see the Indian Air Force C-130J 30 Super Hercules making a historic landing at Daulat Beg Oldie DBO DSDBO, that is Darbuk Shock Daulat Beg Oldie. So in the map we can have a look about Shock, Darbuk, China. We can locate Ladakh, Jammu and Kashmir, Kargil also. So this was the discussion about the map and why we are discussing about very importantly what are the significant what significance it holds, and we must know about the significance it holds. We must be familiar with the DSDBO origin, and in the same way when we talk about the DSDBO or what are the progresses made in the DSDBO, that is Darbuk Shock, Daulat Begul Oldie, very significant to discuss. We must be totally allowed for sections at what are the highlights of the DSDB origin. It is the strategic importance of this is much highlighted. We must know what is strategic importance. So strategic importance is too much. We can never ignore the strategic importance of this DSDBO. We must know the DBO has the world's highest airstrip, originally built during the 1962 war but abandoned until 2008 when the Indian Air Force revived it as one of its many advanced landing grounds along the line of actual control with the landing of its Antonov AN-32. In August 2013, the Indian Air Force created history by landing one of its newly acquired Lockheed Martin C-130J-30 and transport aircraft, is visible in this photograph. So at the DBO ALG, doing away thereafter with the need to send helicopters to paradrop supplies to army formations deployed along the disputed frontier. Very important. The DBO with reference to 2020 India-China skirmishes. So we must discuss about DBO. What its strategic importance is that it connects Leh to DBO virtually at the base of the Karakoram Pass that separates China's Xinjiang autonomous region from Ladakh, and also the DSDBO's emergence seemingly panicked China, evidenced by the 2013 intrusion by the PLA Pakistan Legislative Assembly into the nearby Depsang Plains, lasting nearly 3 weeks. Next article. Coming to General Studies Paper 2, recovered cases more than active cases. The statement of Health Ministry is coming here. We must know about the Health Ministry, what is the statement and what are the progress made by the coronavirus curve. We can just have a look at this active cases and discharge cases, much highlighted. Important to discuss how we can enumerate this. Just have a look at why the gap closes. Active cases and discharge cases is showing in the graph, and also we can just have a look at exponential fall, exponential rise. And experts have said that the comparison of the cumulative data of active and recovered cases may not give a correct picture of the course of the pandemic. The number of daily cases may be a more reliable metric. So they are indicating towards, very importantly, we can just say they are indicating towards the cumulative figures as well. If the death rate starts coming down, then there is significant. So Dr. K. Chaturthi, a member of the Indian Council of Medical Research, says. So what we can conclude from that the graph, but it's a good news for positive news for India. Recovered cases have exceeded the number of the active coronavirus COVID cases, positive cases. So central teams are being deputed to provide technical support to state health departments and municipal health officials in Delhi, Mumbai, Ahmedabad, Chennai, Kolkata and Bengaluru. The teams will visit these cities within a week to review public health measures being undertaken for COVID-19. This was all about with reference to General Studies Paper 2 Health. Next. So this is very, very important to discuss. I want to highlight that with reference to internal security, General Studies Paper 3, Shopian encounter. It is a in Apple Valley in Jammu and Kashmir. Shopian is a district located in Jammu and Kashmir. What has happened at 5 militants were gunned down. So when we say about why they were gunned down, it highlights the issue of the internal security. What are the threats? We must be properly prepared for such threats, okay? Because Shopian encounter is not a simple thing. We must know that 5 militants are killed in Shopian, and army jawans are being recruited there. They are being deployed there for the security purpose. The joint operation was conducted after a tip-off about the presence of 3 to 4 militants. So, have a look, just you can see how these security personals are deployed there during the encounter, and they are very active there. And security forces have successfully killed 5 militants in an ongoing operation in South Kashmir, Shopian, yesterday only. So, police spokesman also stated about the tip-off about the presence of 3 to 5 militants in Sugo Hendama village. Data have been obtained. Now, this led to cordon and search operation, and the hiding militants opened fire. What happened? Then earlier 9 militants were killed in 2 separate operations. But this highlights about the breach of the security. We must know about the Shopian encounter and why it is a threat to India's internal security, because India's internal security is very, very important to discuss because there are some threat to rebellions as well. Some encounters are regularly taking place. So with reference to many measures have been taken place, like many army forces deployed, many kinds of operations are also undertaken. Next article, coming to relevant for General Studies Paper 3 Economy, an article by Quizmaster Derek O'Brien, who is MP from Kolkata. He is a Rajya Sabha MP. member of Trinamool Congress in West Bengal, and is highlighting about the issues of Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act, it is Manrega or Narega. So in the backdrop of this article, I want to highlight the issues of Narega. So as simple as possible, there was a campaign called Save Manrega 5 years back. There were a set of demands proposed during the joint meeting of the national leadership of CITU, EIDWA, AIKS in New Delhi. The agenda was to discuss the dilution of Manrega scheme by the new government. The demands were like that government of India should increase the central allocation. Also, one recommendation is there that the present the salary which is received, income is rupees 202 per day for per migrant laborer or whoever worker is working for under the Narega scheme. It should be raised. The experts committee has suggested in 2019 that it should be raised to rupees 375 per day. This is the important recommendation of the expert committee. Let's get back to that set of demands, Save Manrega campaign, so that the government of India should increase the central allocation for the scheme so that number of workers work days can be increased to 200. So there is a demand to increase the number of work days to 200 and per day wage can be increased to 300. Now job card is to be issued for everyone who demands job, failing which after 15 days employment benefits should be given. Minimum 150 days of work should be ensured to all card holders. Minimum Wage Act should be strictly implemented. Delay in wage payment should be resolved, and Narega should be extended to urban areas as well, because there are migrant laborers in urban areas residing there as well, and they demand some employment schemes. Now, Gram Sabha should be strengthened to monitor proper implementation of the scheme and also to check corruption. So, some new amendments were introduced in 2017. We must know about the 2017 new amendments which took place in 2014. Very important to discuss. So we can just highlight some of the core ideas that Nitin Gadkari, the urban rural development minister, he was the minister. He recommended to change the labor material ratio from 60 to 42, 51 to 49. Coming back to the past history of Narega, or when it was employed, it was implemented in 2005, and then later it was renamed as Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act. It is an Indian labor law and social security measure to provide employment that aims to guarantee right to work, and also it is a guarantee of employment, because 100 days you will get employment, you will get some salary as well, some income. The act was passed in September 2005, and the mission statement states that it aims to enhance livelihood and security in the rural areas by providing at least 100 days of work employment. So we can have a look what highlights he says is standing about the disappointment of the recommendation of state committee is also recommending, and also he's highlighting about the ironic fact as well that in the last year on 2nd October 2019 we celebrated 150th birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi, and he is saying that poverty is also taking place. So it is ironic that while India celebrated Mahatma Gandhi's 150th birth anniversary, it is hung in the balance, it is not working well. So during this COVID crisis, the essentiality, the significance of the Manrega Act also increases. As you all know that Manrega aims to enhance livelihood security in rural areas by providing at least minimum guarantee of 100 days wage employment in a financial year to every household whose adult members volunteer to do unskilled manual work. Next article, very significant from disaster management point of view, General Studies paper 3. We all know that on 9th of June 2020 an Assam gas leak from Oil India Limited took place and how blowout took place. So in the backdrop of this, I want to highlight some of the issues, like we all know about the blowout at what were safety measures and bad workmanship, poor workmanship, what issues it highlights, what the cause of this. So we can rush to the statement, which is an official statement, or we can just analyze that particular statement that very significantly when we say about when we just have a look at the Assam gas leak, the causes must be released, and what are the causes, we can have a look at that cause also. So actually this blowout in gas well in Oil India Limited Bagjan Tinsukia district Assam took place on 9th of June, 2 days back. So what happened, workover operations were carrying out gas producing well Bagjan 5 under Bagjan oil field in Tinsukia district of Assam suddenly became active on 27th of May 2020 and a blowout occurred. It led to uncontrolled flow of gas from the well. Now you must know that causes I have already told. Now Oil India Limited sought support from Oil and Natural Gas Corporation, which is a Maharatna company, which immediately replied their crisis management team. Oil India Limited also mobilized a Singapore based from MS Alert Disaster Control. Now the well was planned to be capably following the advice of experts and taking all safety precautions as well. So you cannot say that the safety precautions were ignored. Just we can enumerate that poor workmanship and negligible intention, bad intentions can be curtailed, can be included, but Just have a look at this blaze of fire. How significant was it? How disastrous was it? And how difficult was it to encounter or to monitor this gas leak? So this is very very important to discuss. When we say about the articles, we just say the Union Minister of Petroleum and Natural Gas, along with Chief Minister of Assam, reviewed the situation yesterday. It means on 10th June, that ONGC international experts and MOPNG Minister of Petroleum and Natural Gas officials through video conferencing. Assam Chief Minister emphasized the need to allay the apprehensions of the people to loss of life and property. So there was much loss of life and property was made. We must know about the causes. And also Minister of Petroleum and Natural Gas, Mr. Pradhan, Dharmendra Pradhan, again held a review meeting through video conferencing. So what happened? The fire in around 200 meters. Just we can have a look about how the firefighters were also killed. Now the debris of burned rig, fire engines and other material around the well site will be removed before any operation can be started to cap the well. This is the case. Now what is the evacuation plan? Around 1,600 families had already been evacuated from the nearby affected areas and are camped. So any further update will be told. So this was all about the article written from the disaster management point of view, general studies paper 3. Coming to the next article, as it indicates, we are well familiar. It is good news for us as the number of Asiatic lions has increased. Yesterday Mr. Narendra Modi highlighted, so he also tweeted, and let's see what he said. So he was happy in announcing that the population of majestic Asiatic lions in Gir, Gujarat, the national park, the biosphere reserve, have increased. So what reasons he stated why the population increased of Asiatic lions in Gujarat? First, community participation. Yes, there was community participation. Many people, active participation, awareness campaign were took place. Emphasis on technology. Yes, to monitor the population, to monitor their progress, to monitor their requirements. The forest officials, the forest rangers and all the forest department staff were deployed, and they took the massive help of technology, wildlife healthcare, proper habitat management and steps to minimize human-lion conflict. This was the reasons given by Mr. Narendra Modi. Two very good news. He stated that up to 36% the distribution area is also increased, and the population of the majestic Asiatic lions is in the Gujarat's Gir forest, Gir forest of Gujarat has increased to 29%. So the actions have been taking place from the last 7 years. We are all familiar that Asiatic majestic lions. So if you see the lions were spotted, and that the question arises how Gujarat was possible, how Gujarat was much capable of counting the lion census taking place even during this lockdown period. What was the reason? So if we go into the analysis part, we will see that it took the help of Poonam Avlokan. So there is a relevant article in this newspaper. Let's move on to that article. So this article is much relevant from the general studies paper 3 environment and ecology point of view. So I'm just enumerating here the lion census, how it took place. If you see, lion is visible here. So how Gujarat was able to estimate its lion population without the holding a census? There is a method known as lock counting method, and where the forest officials just observe. Also there is one method more known as the drinking water method. What happens, we all know that lions are also thirsty like us, and they need water as well. So they need water, and be much familiar that they need water. So very importantly, what happens is that water requirement is always there, and the lions drink water, and so they come back to the pond once in 24 hours. So their number is counted. It is in this way. So this the Poonam Avlokan was much successful. So how the Poonam Avlokan was successful, we must know that why the forest officials were successful even during this lockdown period, and they were able to manage to count. Very importantly, the numbers were able to estimate it. It was only possible through Poonam Avlokan, which is a monthly in-house exercise carried out every full moon. What happens in this Avlokan or Poonam Avlokan? Very importantly, it happens that the field staff and the officers spent 24 hours assessing the number of lions and their locations in their respective jurisdictions. It was a mechanism developed by the Forest Department in 2014 as part of preparations for the 2015 lion census. So lion census is much successful. There is much required. We say about why it is estimated, and the population needs to be required. This time the exercise was undertaken from 2 p.m. on last week Friday and Saturday of 6th of June. So it covered 10 districts where the lion movements have been recorded in the recent 7 years. 13 forest divisions, all these divisions, Surendranagar and Morbi, were part of the estimate campaign. Is about the lion census too. This observation was different from the regular census. How? The lion census involves larger participation. Around 2,000 officers were deployed, experts and volunteers were involved in the census. So this makes the census more transparent. The lion observation this month was conducted by more than 1,400 forest staff members and few experts. 4 experts were also deployed. Now, the lion census usually runs for more than 2 days, including a preliminary census and a final census. It is done using the block counting method, in which I've already told you, census enumerators remain stationed at water points in a given block and estimate abundance of lions in that block based on direct sighting of lions who need to drink water at least once in 24 hours during the scorching heat of the summer. Also, a lion observation method is also deployed. This was all about from the lion census relevant for article General Studies paper 3 Environment and Ecology. Next article is relevant from General Studies paper 3 Science and Technology. I want to discuss about the genetically modified seeds. We all know about the Shetkari Sangathan, also in the last 2018 what it did, it sued PepsiCo. Now, what is the relevance for General Studies paper 3 Environment and Ecology? Very significant. We must have studied in biotechnology, or if you have studied biotechnology in class 11 and 12, you know about the genetically modified crops. So genetically modified seeds are also a product of the genetically modified crops. So very significantly, the genetically modified crops or the GM crops are plants that are used in agriculture, the DNA of which has been modified using genetic engineering methods. In most cases, you can see the aim is to introduce a new trait to the plant which does not occur naturally in the species. We can just cite some examples as well. Examples in food crops include resistance to certain pests, we can say diseases as well. Then you have some environmental conditions as well, reduction of spoilage as well. So then you have resistance to chemical treatments as well, like resistance to herbicide, or improving the nutrient profile of the crop. And examples in non-food crops as well, which includes production of pharmaceutical agents, biofuels and other industry useful goods, as well as for bioremediation as well. Then farmers have widely adopted GM technology. Okay, so acreage increased from 1.7 million hectares in 1996 to 185.1 million hectares in 2016. Then we have a look about the Bacillus thuringiensis. You know about the Bacillus thuringiensis. We have a look at the legal position of the genetically modified crops in India. We know the Genetic Engineering Appraisal Committee is the apex body that allows for the commercial release. It means he monitors the genetically modified crops. So, coming to scientific consensus, we know about that currently available food derived from the genetically modified crops or genetically modified seeds possesses no regular risk to human health. So in this case, the Shetkari Sangathan are demanding out the sowing of the seeds of the genetically modified crops, which is very significant from the season point of view. Importantly, we say about the seasoned point of view, very significant. We say about how our opponents have objected to genetically modified crops that on grounds including some environmental impacts, limitations. We can just have a look. What are limitations of the GM seeds? That environmental impact is always there. Food safety, then are whether they are safe to consume or not, we are not sure about that. Whether GM crops are needed to address food needs, whether they are sufficiently accessible to farmers in developing countries, and concerns over subjecting crops to intellectual property law. Now, safety concerns are always there. So we must know about the yield rate is very high. In 2014, the largest review had concluded that the GM crops affected on farming were positive. Next article is written for General Studies paper 3 Economy, the last one for today. Now we know about S&P, that is Standard and Poor's. There is a rating agency. 3 big rating agency of India are Moody's, S&P, and one more is there. The 3 big credit rating agencies in India. So we must discuss the 3 big credit rating agencies of India. They are known as the big 3 or credit rating agencies. First is Moody's, then you have S&P. First is Standard and Poor, S&P, then Moody's, then Fitch Ratings. In this also article we can see it is written here. Meanwhile, Fitch Ratings, we can just see this statement. Meanwhile, it is written here. Fitch Ratings said that after a 5% contraction, what happened in the current fiscal, the country's economy is forecast to bounce back with a sharp growth rate of 9.5%. So, what is the function of the Fitch Ratings? What do the big 3 credit rating agencies do? We know about nationally recognized statistical rating organizations, NSRS, O's, so Dutch all there. So big 3 and overlines of the big 3 we have seen that the Fitch group is very important to discuss because the Fitch Ratings is an American credit rating agency and is one of the big 3 credit rating agencies. So Securities Exchange Commission are regulated in 1975. Fitch Ratings are very similar. Fitch Ratings is a dual headquartered in New York and London. Hearst owns 100% of the company following its acquisition of an additional 20% from $2.8 billion on April 12, 2018. Now Hearst had owned for $2.8 million on April 12, 2018. Now the Fitch Ratings, the firm was founded by John Noes Fitch on December 24, 1914, New York City, as a Fitch publishing company. So this was the Tafi Marak and the formal financial. If we talk about the criticism part of this Fitch Ratings, the main credit rating agencies, including Fitch, were accused of misrepresenting. So Moody's also is a credit rating agency. So we say about that we were accused of misrepresenting the risk associated with the mortgage rated securities always there, which included the CDO market. There were large losses in the collateralized debt or obligation CDO market that occurred despite being assigned top ratings by the CRAs. Very importantly, the investment scale was also significant, like BBB. Here it is BBB minus. So BBB minus means what? BBB means medium class companies which are satisfactory at the moment. BB means more prone to changes in the economy. BBB minus is also there. So we can just link that category. So this was the long-term credit ratings, okay, how they are assigned on an alphabetical scale from the AAA to D, first introduced in 1924 and later adopted and licensed by S&P Standard & Poor's. So this was all about the articles which were relevant for the Indian Express analysis. Let's rev up. In this background, we discussed about the genetically modified seeds. We all know science and technology, general studies paper 3, how Gujarat was able to count the animals even during this lockdown. Then relevant for environment and ecology, general studies paper 3, how the Asiatic lions has increased. Also the reasons are due community participation, use of emphasis on technology and wildlife care, disaster management, Assam gas leak statement. Coming to Manadega, then international security point of view, Shopian encounter, 5 militants killed, internal security. Now this is a good news for us that the recovered cases, recovery rate has increased and exceeded active cases. General studies paper health. Now very important DST review. Please remember Darabuk Shok, DBO stands for Daulat Beg OD. Please look at the map and just analyze the article. Then international relations, China border dispute, we know about the 2020 India-China skirmishes. This was all about the articles which needs to be discussed from the Indian Express dated 11th June 2020. Thank you. Have a nice day.